Welcome to the part 2 of the assignment training. Within this video, I will show you some cases, some preparations you can do for the assignment in terms of Microsoft Access. First of all, you start with a new Access file, blank database. Let's click on that. The file name, let's call it assignment training access. Well, of course, if the instruction tells you to name it otherwise, make sure to do that. I assume you will need your full name, student number, and group name. So depends on the instruction. Make sure you read that carefully. Now we create an access database, and within this database we should have not one table but several tables, and those tables should be linked. So it's very unlikely the assignment instruction will tell you to create one table, but most likely multiple tables. The specific number of tables we don't know, but prepare 3 to 4 would help you to have a head start for the assignment. So we use the role of HR as an example for the Excel. So we will continue using that role, for example, because I don't want to confuse you. If you are a product manager, you should have your Access and Excel both for your responsibilities in the role of product manager. So you cannot pretend to be HR for Access and pretend to be product manager for the other software. So we will continue with HR, but between the time I created the last video and this video, some students have asked me what tips can I give for CEOs, for marketing managers, for finance managers, and for others that's not involved in HR. So of course, I cannot create the tables for you, and also, if you are HR, you cannot copy the format of the tables I will show you in this video. But I can give you some tips. For example, as a CEO, you are in charge of overall administration, so you can choose with a wider range than other managers. But of course, you also have this information like stakeholders, shareholders, customers, partners, and those could be your material of those tables. And if you are a marketing manager, you probably use a lot of social media. And then you can create a table for social media and create another table for your engagement, which accounts that interact with your social channels more often. That you probably want to keep a table of those information. And how about conversion rate of your advertisement on social media to the sales, if you can keep track that. So that's marketing. And if you are finance or accounting, then you probably have a table for your suppliers to keep track of your of the prices that your suppliers offer. And you probably have a separate table for your sales administration. And the difference between the two, that will be your profit, and you could be having that in a separate table or integrated in one of the tables. That's your decision. But you could also have dealt with the investment from shareholders and the return on investment for the shareholders. So that's finance and accounting. And if you are a product manager, that will be even easier. So if you have stock, if you have sales, and if you have frequent customers, and those are all feasible tables for you. And also for some students, either that's for any reason that didn't take the CCE by far, maybe because of Corona, that you chose to not be active for certain courses, and within that you have CCE, or you have done it, but your role is not so specific. You're just helping here and there for many things. But that's not a problem. So you can, within the context of your company and within the context of your company's business, you can make up information. You can make up data. So again, we're not testing you for your CCE knowledge. Then as long as it makes sense, as long as the numbers add up, the storyline is clear, then you can add or edit or delete information to make your tables unique. I guess those are some tips I can give to you, and hopefully you can make use of them. But I don't know better. You know the best because you have operated within your CCE company. So whatever makes sense to you, as long as you can explain it, I don't think that will be a problem. Just don't copy any other's work. As mentioned in the announcement, if you copy others' work, both of you, since we cannot identify whose work is original, both of you will be reported to the examination board, and you will receive no grade for this assignment. That will be not ideal. So make sure that you have unique data sets. Okay, enough introduction. Let's go ahead and create some tables. As an HR manager, you probably will have a table to keep track of your employees' information. So we will create that. So here is table 1. We already have the ID as a default field, and we need to create more fields. We need to change it to the design view to be able to add more fields. Before we turn to the design view, we have to define the name. So now we need to have the information for employees. So let's name it as employee. Here we are in the design view, and we see ID, and that ID is an auto number. And here we see a small key here, which means it's a primary key. That means this part should always be unique and should always has a value. So that is the integrity rule number 1, which is referred in the on the syllabus as well. First integrity rule and second integrity rule. So we can change the ID to something else. Let's change it to employee number. That number could be an auto number as a data type or any number as long as we choose. If we set it as an auto number, then it's starting count to count from 1, then 2, then 3, etc. But if it's a number, as long as it's not conflicting with each other, then we can always type in a unique number. So here we just leave it as a auto number, and we can set up all the other fields. So I will walk you through how to set up this table, and I will create the other two tables just by myself. So for this one, we have employee number as the first field, and after we know the employee number, probably we should have the first name and second name. No, that's not the second name. Let's call it last name. Okay, last name, and they are both short text, and each one has 250 as the field size. So that means there are 250 bytes can be typed in. You can also set this to a very strict number of bytes, let's say 10. So if you have a name that's more than 10 letters, it will not be successful to put in this field. But we don't have to do that. Let's make it back to 255. So let's also go for the next one is function, short text. Okay, what else do we need in an employee table? It could be salary. Alright, and that salary is unlikely to be a short text. Probably let's give it a currency. So in this way you can set up your data type for a certain field, and if you want you can actually add a lot more information. But just to show you another data type, I will set a yes or no field. So here we have salary, and let's see, here would be paid or not. So whether the salary is paid or not. So that's a yes no question, and when we go back you will see that will become a checkbox. So you can have more than this, but now just as an example we start from here and go back to the data sheet and save the table. Yes, okay, here we go. We have our salaries, but this field with the currency XDR, that's not what we want. We want euros. So before we type in any data, we need to go back and change the currency again. So here under the currency part, we can choose that under format. Here now it's XDR, but we want euros, so we will choose euros. And go back to the datasheet view and save the table again. Now we have the correct salary field. So I will stop the video now and complete this table, and I will come back with a full table and also 2 more tables, but afterwards I will explain what I did with 2 more tables. You don't have to witness how I do that, because it's just repetitive work. Now we have the content for the first table, and let's quickly review that what's happening here. So we have employee number, which is automatically created, first name, last name, function, salary, and is the salary paid or not. So here you can see that we use the similar data as what we used for Excel, and that's something you can do, but that's not something you have to do. Feel free to use a different data set or choose a different angle, but if you choose to use the same data, make sure you stay consistent, that with the same person you still have the same salary associated with that person, etc. And also if you are adding more information, make sure that corresponds to what you already had before, and it makes sense. For example, if you say Zhijian Wang, the salary is €9, and as a HR manager, that should fit in the description of your company. And for someone earning €13, it doesn't make sense if that person is an HR assistant that's lower than what we have as a manager. If manager gets paid for €9, the HR assistant, we can find it here, should be either equal to €9 or lower than €9. So the CEO earns 13. That's fine. That's the highest among all. And CEO assistant 12, manager 12, CFO also 13, etc. So you should take care of the business sense of your example, but you don't have to make sure all the data are authentic or correct. That you can make up data as long as it makes sense. Alright, let's create the other two tables. I just want to let you know how to create a table. So I will fill in the table when I pause the video, but now how to create. We go to this tab in the ribbon, create, and here we can create a table and or a query or a form or a report. But now we just create a table. So here we have a table. Then the same story starts again. We see the default ID field, and we can go to the design view to change things and come back to fill the information in. So I will pause my recording right now and fill in the other two tables. Okay, now I have finished creating those tables. First of all, let's see what's changed to our first table. We have one extra column, and that's called nationality. And within that, we do not see the texts of nationality, but we see a list of numbers. Probably that will be clear after we have seen other tables. So we have a table here called function, and in this function we have code of the function name, and this function name is corresponding to the function name you see on the employee table. So probably these two are linked, or at least those two should be with same data. And here we have salaries, and for each function we have a fixed salary, and that should also be corresponding to the data that we used before. So if it's CEO, then it's €13, and the same information should be reflected in the other table as well. If you decide to use the same data, it should be very consistent. And here we have a column called bonus, and you see that all the C levels would receive bonuses, but all the other employees will not. That's the function table, and let's change that into the design view and see what's special in the design. Here we see that the code itself is the primary key, and that's a number. So that number doesn't have a limitation of how many digits can be in it. So then we see, even though 6 numbers are majority, but 7 numbers are also fine, and 8 numbers are also fine, as long as it's unique. Let's see others. Function is a short text. Salary is a currency, and it's also set to euros. And bonus yes or no question. So that's clear. Let's move on to the next table, nationality. Here we have it looks like an auto number, or it's a normal number but used 1 to 5 as the ID, as a file number. And then we have nationalities, and the abbreviation of the nation the nationality is from. And if you want to work in the Netherlands, you probably need to get a work permit. That's according to the nationality, whether the permit is required. So this is also a yes/no question. If you are from China, US, or Mexico, then you should have a work permit in order to work. We see some repeated information like the file number 1 to 5. You can also find them in the nationality part in the employee table. And the function and salaries can be found on the function table. So the conclusion would be these three tables are linked. But how can we create a link among these three tables? That's what I want to show you. So first of all, let's close them all to make sure everything is saved. And then we go to Database Tools on the ribbon and click on Relationships. This way, we will link the tables together. And here we add all the three tables. And let's see, we have three of them here: employee table, nationality table, and function table. And here we need to make link of everything, and we need to keep in mind file number in the nationality part is the primary key. Employee number in the employee table is the primary key, and the code in the function table is the primary key. So it could be a primary key foreign key relationship, or it could be a normal linked relationship. So for the nationality, it actually linked with the code, with the file number of the nationality table. Then we drag this one with the nationality here. It doesn't seem to work. Okay, so we need to create this manually. So double click, then we will find the table as we need to write down here file number, and then it's related into the other table. Oh, it's not working. Okay, let's start again. Double click, and this time we go ahead and create new, and this new table would be, it still doesn't seem right. So we need to create a relationship. So let's see first, how can we do the relationship? Edit relationships. It's the same interface. Okay, so the file number, create new, nationality to the employees, and that's file number in the nationality table to the employee table nationality. Click OK. Yeah, oh, finally this one works. Okay, Sorry, I went silent for a while because I want to focus on the solution. So now it seems like these two worked, and we go ahead and create them. And here we have a link between the file number and nationalities. However, this link is a direct link. It's not a relationship between a foreign key and the primary key. If that's the case, then here you will see a number 1 saying this is the original field, and here you will see a sign of infinity, say this one is referred by somewhere else. So let's click on this relationship and click on this one, enforce referential integrity. So that means that these two should always be correspondent, so that those two should have the same value after all. Click on OK. Here you see the little 1 and then the infinity. Okay, so that's one link fixed, and another link would be between function and salary. So this link is not a relation between the primary key and the foreign key, but this link is just directly between one field of a table to the other field of the table. Oh, so this one worked. So if you click on it and drag it to here, then this one works. So this one has a direct link, and so does the salary. But as you can see, there's only one relationship can be created. So as long as the function is clear, we assume the salary will be correspondent. But because we don't have a relationship here, so there could be a typo. If you are not careful, the system will not catch it for you. So keep that in mind. So we do have one foreign to primary relationship, and we have another one is linking two fields of two tables kind of relationship. So those relationships are created. Let's go back. Okay, save the changes. Yes. So the reason why we create the relationship is that later on, when we try to create a query, then we can search certain information across tables because those are linked. Let's go ahead to try one example already to say how much how many people earn more than 10 euros that are foreigners. So we will have a list of all the foreigners, meaning non-Dutch, in one screen, and that screen should fit that all those people there should earn more than 10 euros. So we will create a query, simple query wizard. By the way, on the syllabus you are taught to use both query wizard and query design. This is what I normally recommend, use query wizard, because I found this one quite easy to use, especially to create a query that's across tables. So here we have employees. Let's indicate the first name. If on the instruction such question is asked, it will be asked in a way that be very open. Say, create a query that use the asterisk or use the wildcard or use the question mark and look for certain information. And the second part will be please explain the business meaning behind your query. So it will be a very open question, but make sure you have very reliable tables. You can even alter the tables after you see a certain instruction. If your table is not capable of taking care of such instruction, then you should probably alter your table. One possibility would be that if we are asking for searching for a date, then we don't have a date, so probably you need to alter your table just spontaneously to add a birthday or contract starting date or contract ending date, etc. So let's come back to this example. So we first have the first name, and then we want to have the salary, because we're going to compare the salary, and then we want to have the nationality. So here you see we can choose from different tables. So let's just go to the nationality, because I assume all the tables are linked, so they will also find the nationality that's in the employee table, even if we search in the nationality table. So here we go, we have this, and next, and this one we can name it to anything we want at the moment, but probably in the instruction it will ask you to create a specific name. But if not, then just feel free to come up with your own. So here we say non-Dutch, more than 10 euros. So that's our name for the query. Finish. And even though we just click on finish, but apparently these are not what we wanted yet. We still have some 9 euros and some local people here. So let's define some criteria. To define the criteria, we need to go to the home button and then go to design view. Then we will see how can we design this query. So let's enlarge this to show the whole list of fields. So the salary should be more than 10, so that's more than 10, and the nationality would be non-Dutch. So how can we do that? We have operators. For example, not is an operator, and then within the quotation mark we can write not Dutch. Click run. Yeah, we have 3 foreign people that's earning more than 10 euros. That's a functional query look like. That's how a functional query look like. So in the instruction, it could ask you to create something that make use of, say, a number, or make use of the operator, or only show the name, even though you have you have found these names based on other information. So that's possible. So just show a list of name, and the criteria can be hidden. So there are a lot of varieties of these, but like I mentioned in the course, there is a website to help you. The website is called Criteria for Access Queries. So if you go on Google and search for criteria access queries, you should find that web page. And that web page will show you, for the majority of queries, there's just 3 possibilities: numbers, text, or a date. So a date look like this. with wildcards around them. So make sure you understand all the criteria have taught in the syllabus, then you should be fine with the query part. And let me show you two other functions. Another one would be create a form, and that form will make it easier for you to input data for the tables. You can either create a form to be attached to a table completely, or you can create a form that has input for 3 tables together. But let me show you an example of how to create, let's save this, how to create a form that's linked to one table. So in the employee table, we have all these fields, but later on when the employee table gets too large, you don't want to every time scroll down to the very last one and start typing from there. And also, in this datasheet view, it's very easy to make mistakes. Say, if you want to write certain information in one row, and then you're writing, and suddenly someone called you, and then you come back to your table and then clicked one level up, one row up, than the right row. So that could be problematic. But if you have a form, you will only see the data in one row on one page. So it's unlikely that you can put in wrong data. So first, let's create a form. By the way, my preference is always for the wizard tool. So I always use the wizard tool to create things. So in this case, we create using form wizard. So let's use form wizard, and we can see that now we are already in the table employee, and we have all the fields here. We can import them all at once with this button, or we can include them one by one, or leave something out. In this case, we want all of them, and then next. So it's fine that the form has the same name as the table, so we know it's linked to the other table completely. So let's click on finish. Yes, so this is the interface you will see when you have a form, and we can go all the way to the last one, check everything, and then if you want a new record, you can just click next. Now you have a new record, and you can just start typing. Or you can say, I don't want to go all the way to the last one and click next. I will just create a new record. Then you can click on this button. You again go to the record number 14, which is a new record. Alright, that's how to create a form. But as you see that once you have the tables ready and well designed, then create queries and forms are all covered quite explicitly in the syllabus. One last function is create a report, and let's try using report wizard. So with report wizard, you can see that we can choose which table our report is based on. It could be any of the 3 original tables, but also it could be a query. So if you want to create a report for a certain purpose that's very specific, then you probably want to create the query first to select those data, and then create your table based on the query instead of based on the whole table. So let's create a report based on the query non-Dutch more than 10, and we only have first name here, remember, because we deselected the other two, but this one will not be so helpful. Let's show the other two fields again. So let's go back, and in the query part we go to design view and show the other two, and click run and close. The reason why I always close things before I do something else is because sometimes you can only save a record when you close it. So now it's saved. Let's try the same procedure again to create a report based on the query. Now you see we have all three fields. Let's include them all. Click on next. Next. Here you can organize it by either first name or salary or nationality. It makes sense to start organizing with first name. And here we can change the report name, and this report name should be corresponding to the query that it refers to, which is non-Dutch more than 10. And click on finish. We have a very neat report that includes all the three fields. To alter the report, you can change the view. So now we are in print preview. We can quit it, and then we can change the view to either design view, which is what we are looking now, or the layout view to implement our changes. Okay, let's go back to design view. We can change colors, we can delete certain sections, we can give certain section more space, and we can also define them with different colors, different fonts, yeah, almost everything. So feel free to try it by yourself. But what's most important and the main idea of this exercise, let's close this first, save, is that to let you know how to prepare all the tables you need. At least should be in as complex as this one, but I expect that you probably can have a more complex, more well thought, and more realistic table than I created here. And the instruction will be asking you very open questions, but specified of what kind of functions or what kind of details you need to add to your query, form, and report. Well, all of your data sets are unique, but the requirement, say, for one query you have to compare some numbers, for another query you have to compare some dates, and for a report, that report is based on a table or based on the second query you created or based on the query that you chose to compare the dates, etc. So that's the style of the questions. But I guess so far you should know how to create the tables, how to make those tables realistic, making sense, and how to link the tables, and how to make query, form, and reports based on what you created. So I would call it the end of the assignment training. This is the access part. We do have taught you a very brief chapter using the Microsoft project. To prepare for the project part, just do the chapter 4 of the syllabus once more. That will be sufficient. Alright. Good luck with your exam. Thank you very much for viewing this video, and I hope that you can pass the exam in one go. Otherwise, please join my colleagues session with another assignment training after the regular assignment exam, but before the resit.